Ramchandra Paudel of Nepali Congress and Subhash Chandra Nemwang of CPN-UML have filed their nominations for the upcoming presidential election that is scheduled for 9th of March. After filing their nominations, both the leaders have claimed of garnering national support. Although a ceremonial position, the hype surrounding the president's election has somewhat disintegrated the existing power share as 8 parties joined hands to support Nepali Congress's bid for presidency. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. NC candidate Ramchandra Paudel and CPN-UML candidate Subhash Nemwang filed their nominations for the presidential election. Both leaders claim to garner national consensus for the candidacy. CPN-UML decides to continue to support the current government despite CPN-Mao's centre not supporting its presidential candidate. RPP ministers tend their resignation after the party decides not to support the government. Finance leaders of the world's biggest economies entangled in differences over the war in Ukraine and on resolving the debt burden of a distressed developing nations. And Nepal thrashed Kuwait by 243 runs in the ICC Under-19 World Cup Asian qualifiers. Arjun Kumal and Dev Khanal shine with the bat. Akash Chand shines with the ball in the... Ramchandra Paudel of Nepali Congress and Subhash Nemwang of CPN-UML have filed their candidacies for the upcoming presidential election that is scheduled for 9th of March. After filing their nominations, both the leaders have claimed of garnering national support. Both the leaders had reached the office of the election officer in the premises of the Parliament building in capital's Baneshwar today. Paudel reached Baneshwar with leaders of 8 parties, including Premier Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Nepali Congress President Deuba, Madhav Kumar Nepal, Narayan Kaji Shrestha, Ashok Kumar Rai and Abdul Khan proposed Paudel's candidacy, while he has the backing of Mahanta Thakur, Poina Bahadur Khadka, Ranjita Shrestha, Chitra Bahadur Kesi and Hitraj Pandey. After filing his candidacy, Paudel said that he would work to implement transformations and for the benefit of the citizens. Likewise, from CPN-UML, KP Sharma Oli, Prithvi Subba Gurung, Gokarna Raj Bista, Raghubir Mahaset and Chabilal Bishwakarma proposed the candidacy of Subhash Nemwang, while he has the backing of Yogesh Kumar Bhattrai, Top Bahadur Raimaji, Julie Kumari Mahatto, Dil Kumari Rao Thapa and Aman Kumar Maske. Nemwang's remarks included assurances of working as the public's president. The voting for the presidential election will be held from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on 9th of March. A total of 882 voters, including 332 members of the Federal Parliament and 550 members of the Provincial Assembly of all 7 provinces, will cast their ballot. The vote weight of the Federal Parliament will be 79 and that of the Provincial Assembly will be 48. Individuals who are eligible to become a member of the Federal Parliament above 45 years of age and those who fulfill all legal requirements can be a candidate for the presidential race. As per the Constitution, the President, once elected, will have a 5-year term, and those who have been elected as the President twice are ineligible to become a candidate. Separate voting centres will be installed for the members of the Federal Parliament and members of the Provincial Assembly. CPN-UML has decided to remain in the government despite not being supported by CPN-Mao's centre for the presidential election. The Secretariat meeting held at the party office in Chashal, Lalitpur this morning decided to continue supporting the current government. The party has decided to take necessary measures after the presidential election is conducted on 9th of March. Meanwhile, the meeting has taken action against Durga Prasai and scrapped his status of party's central member. Rashtriya Prajatantra Party has quit the government. 3 ministers and 1 minister for state of the party have submitted their resignation to the Prime Minister. The ministers of Rashtriya Prajatantra Party reached the Prime Minister's official residence in Balatar earlier today to submit their resignation following the meeting of the Central Working Committee held earlier today. RPP's Rajendra Lingden was the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Energy. Bikram Pandey was the Minister for Urban Development. Dhruva Bahadur Pradhan was the Minister for Law and Deepak Bahadur Singh was the Minister for State. RPP has withdrawn its support lent to the Dahal-led government. Rashtriya Prajatantra Party quit the government after Nepali Congress, CPN Maoist Centre and CPN Unified Socialist reached an agreement to share the 5-year term of the current government. RPP, meanwhile, has yet to make a decision regarding the voting during the presidential election. Parliamentarian of Janata Samajwadi Party, Shehnaz Rahman, has died due to a heart attack. The party has said that parliamentarian Rahman, who had collapsed during a panic in Ghampedara of Bhaktapur earlier today, breathed her last while being treated at Madhyapur Hospital. Parliamentarian Rahman, who was elected from the proportionate category, was 63 years old. Rahman, who was a local resident of Chhapa, was also the central member of Janata Samajwadi Party. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question. What's your take on the government initiation at slashing the number of contract employees? The options are A, trying to curb expenses, B, to recruit others, and C, administrative inconsistency. Voting is on. Tap any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Finance leaders of the Group of 20, the world's biggest economies, were entangled in differences today over the war in Ukraine and on resolving the debt burden of distressed developing nations, participants said. The meeting of finance ministers and central bank chiefs of the Group of 20 hosted by India was likely to end later in the day without a joint communique because there was no consensus on how to describe the conflict in Ukraine. The United States and its allies in the Group of 7 industrial powers have been adamant in demanding the communique squarely condemn Russia for the invasion of its neighbor, which has been opposed by the Russian and Chinese delegations. Russia, a member of the G20 but not the G7, refers to its actions in Ukraine as a special military operation and avoids calling it an invasion or war. India is pressing the meeting to avoid using the word war in any communique. India, which holds this year's G20 presidency, has kept a largely neutral stance on the war, declining to blame Russia for the invasion, seeking a diplomatic solution and sharply boosting its purchases of Russian oil. India and China were among the nations that abstained on Thursday when UN voted overwhelmingly to demand Moscow withdraw its troops from Ukraine and stop fighting. Besides the G7 nations, the G20 bloc also includes such countries as Australia, Brazil and Saudi Arabia. A senior G20 source said negotiations over the communique were difficult, with Russia and China blocking proposals by Western countries. El Salvador's government moved thousands of suspected gang members to a newly opened mega prison on Friday, the latest step in a controversial crackdown on crime that has caused the Central American nation's prison population to soar. Around 2,000 accused gang members were moved to 40,000-person capacity prison, considered to be the largest in the Americas, early Friday morning. In a video posted by Bukele, prisoners stripped down to white shorts with their heads shaved are seen running through the new prison into cells. Many bear gang tattoos. Bukele asked his allies in El Salvador's Congress to pass a state of exception last year, which has since been extended several times, that suspended some constitutional rights after a dramatic spike in murders attributed to violent gangs. Since then, more than 64,000 suspects have been arrested in the anti-crime dragnet. Arrest can be made without a warrant, private communications are accessible by the government, and detainees no longer have the right to a lawyer. Human rights organizations argue that innocent people have been caught up in the policy, including at least dozens who have died in police custody. But Bukele's anti-gang push remains widely popular with Salvadorans, and the country's security minister told Reuters it would continue until all criminals are captured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed some elements of a Chinese proposal for a ceasefire in Russia's war on Ukraine, but said only the country where a war is being fought should be the initiator of a peace plan. During a news conference in Kyiv, Zelensky said it was an important signal that they are going to participate in this topic, referring to China's bid to broker peace. Zelensky, who said he believed Russia allied China did not offer a concrete plan, but some thoughts, also warned Beijing against providing Moscow with arms. Speaking on the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion, Zelensky said that he really wanted to believe that China would not supply weapons to Russia, and it was very important to him. The Ukrainian leader also said that any plan that did not include a full Russian troop withdrawal would be unacceptable to Kyiv. He added that he planned to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping, but did not say when such a meeting might take place. A state prosecutor has accused a disbarred South Carolina lawyer, Richard Alex Murdaugh, of changing his story about his whereabouts on the night his wife and son were murdered, only after the jury heard evidence undercutting his earlier account. In his second day of cross-examination, prosecutor Creighton Waters sought to portray Murdaugh as caught up in a pattern of lying and deceit while detailing his drug use in the run-up to the murders at dog kennels on the family estate on June 7, 2021. On Thursday, during questioning from his lawyer, Murdaugh admitted to being at the kennels minutes before his wife, Maggie, 52, and 22-year-old son, Paul, were gunned down. Up until that point, Murdaugh had maintained he was not at the kennels. The change in Murdaugh's account came after the jury saw cell phone video indicating his presence.
Yes, sir.
Murdaugh said he lied to the investigators about his whereabouts due to his distrust of the police and paranoid thoughts tied to his drug addiction. Murdaugh, the scion of an influential South Carolina legal family, was indicted by a grand jury in July on 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon in connection with the fatal shootings. While denying any involvement in his wife and son's deaths, Murdaugh was acknowledged lying to investigators and to stealing huge sums of money from his law partners and clients, partly to fund a years-long addiction to drugs. Peruvian archaeologists discovered 30 graves from the pre-Inca era north of Lima, they told Reuters on Friday. The burial bundles belonging to the Chante culture were found in a cemetery at Mecaton Mountain in the north-central Huaral Valley. An archaeologist at the University of San Marcos, who led the research, Peter Van Dalen, said those graves belonging to people from different social status. The bundles date back between the years 1000 to 1440 AD, Van Dalen said, and include human remains and vessels that were also part of the burial ritual. The Chance were a pre-Columbian archaeological civilization that developed between valleys on the central coast of Peru from about CE 1000 to 1470. Almost 2,000 people took part in a light run during the annual Copenhagen Light Festival yesterday evening, brightening up the wintry city. The 23-day festival, now in its 6th year, features illuminated bridges and buildings with light art scattered around the city. At the start of the 8-kilometer run organized by the Danish Architects Center, the runners were given a 4-meter-long battery-powered LED light chain to wear during the race, themselves becoming the feature of the festival. During the race, participants passed 21 of the around 55 light installations that can be seen around Copenhagen, mostly concentrated in the city center. Time now for sports update.
Sports news.
Nepal thrashed Kuwait by a huge margin of 243 runs in the ICC Under-19 World Cup Asian qualifiers. Arjun Kumal and skipper Dev Khanal shined with a bat in Nepal's win by scoring centuries. In the match played at the Malik Cricket Ground in Azman, UAE today, Nepal batted first after winning the toss and posted a massive total of 343 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in the allotted 50 overs. Nepal lost the wickets of opener Deepak Bohra and Akash Tripathi when 45 runs were on the board in the 10th over. But a 170-run partnership between opener Arjun Kumal and skipper Dev Khanal gave stability to the Nepal innings. Captain Dev Khanal top-scored for Nepal by scoring 125 runs off 117 balls with the help of 3 sixes and 9 fours. Arjun Kumal also contributed 108 runs off 112 balls, hitting 12 fours. Ash Shahil Kazmi and Henry Thomas were the leading wicket takers for Kuwait with 2 wickets each. Chasing a daunting victory target of 344 runs, Kuwait were bowled out for 100 runs in 30.5 overs. Jude Christopher Salthana with 26 runs was the leading run scorer for Kuwait. Akash Chand was the pick of the Nepali bowlers, grabbing 6 wickets. Hemant Thami and Dipesh Kandel also claimed 2 wickets each. This was Nepal's second consecutive win in the ongoing ICC Under-19 World Cup Asian qualifiers in UAE. Nepal had thumped Singapore by 96 runs yesterday. The top team among the 6 teams playing in the ongoing Asian qualifiers will qualify to play in the 2024 Under-19 World Cup in Sri Lanka. KP Oli Football Club, the organizers of the KP Oli Cup, has advanced into the semi-finals of the tournament, defeating Jalakhel Youth Club 5-4 in the penalty shootout. In the match played at Anfa Complex in Sadobato, Lalitpur today, Rahul opened the scoring for Jalakhel Youth Club in the 42nd minute after KP Oli Football Club goalkeeper Purna Bahadur Chemjong couldn't properly control the ball. Martin Ajay scored in the second half for KP Oli FC to level the match at 1-1. The match had to be decided through a penalty shootout after regulation play ended in a 1-1 draw. In the penalty shootout, skipper Bikram Lama, Aditya Shakya, Ashok Khawas, Loken Limbu and Anil Maharjan scored for KP Oli FC. Likewise, captain Simanta Thapa, Samiraj Thokar, Fodey Fofana and Abdul Aziz converted their spot kicks. With this, the semi-final equation of the KP Oli Cup has been completed. Machindra Club and Sadobato Youth Club will be playing in the first semi-final of the tournament tomorrow. Likewise, KP Oli FC will be clashing against Tribhuvan Army Club in the second semi-final. With a 6-run win over England, South Africa have progressed to the grand finale of the ICC Women's 2020 World Cup. This is the first time the Proteas have inched closer to the World Cup trophy in the history of men's and women's World Cup. In the match played in Cape Town, South Africa won the toss and elected to bat as they posted 164 runs for the loss of 4 wickets. Openers Laura Woolward and Tasmin Brits added 96 runs for the first wicket partnership. Laura scored 53 from 44 while Tasmin added 68 from 55 balls. Marizane Cape remained unbeaten on 27 runs alongside skipper Sune Luce. Sophie Eccleston was the pick of the English bowlers with 3 wickets, while Lauren Bell had a scalp to her name. Chasing the target of 165 runs, England were restricted to 158 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their 20 overs. Nat Skiver Burnt top-scored for England with 40 runs. Danny Watt added 34. Skipper Heather Knight scored 31, while Sophie Dunkley made 28 runs. Ayabonga Khadka was the pick of the South African bowlers with 4 wickets, while Shabnam Ismail had 3, while Nadine de Klerk had a wicket to her name. Unbeaten in the group stage, England were the major title contenders. Last year, England had clean swept the 3-match ODI and T20 series against South Africa. The Proteas will now take on defending champions Australia for the coveted World Cup trophy tomorrow. That's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will be at 10:30 tonight. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.